Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development bi-weekly call. Today is August 3rd. We are already into August, trending into the latter half of summer and the second half of the year. Super excited for what's to come. Let's talk about what we got in store for this call. Latest updates on community, PNP.NET libraries, PNP PowerShell, the latest on Yo Teams, Microsoft Teams Toolkit, MGT, independent publisher connectors, and then let's talk about some samples, script samples, team samples, Power Platform samples, Uni samples. We got samples, so stay tuned. Then, of course, it's everybody's favorite time, picture time in together mode, so get those fantastic faces ready, and Vesa will record all of you saying hello to the community. And then, of course, we've got our three all-star presenters of the day. Azim is going to cover Power Apps for Change Management. Ejaz is going to cover Bookmark Bot for Microsoft Teams. And the one and only Chris Kent back with list formatting tips and tricks. So we're excited for all of those. But first, let's talk about some resources that are available for all of you in the community. We've got videos, which are available by the community in Microsoft. We've got LinkedIn discussion groups available for you to chat with the community in. Open source projects like PNP.JS and CLI for Microsoft 365, and of course, all those beautiful samples, community samples, team samples, SPFX samples, Power Platform, list formatting, the list goes on. See what I did there? List formatting, list goes on. Anyways, sample galleries are all available to you everywhere. And all you got to do is remember none of these URLs but one. aka.ms/community/home will give you access to all of these resources, which, by the way, are absolutely free. Absolutely free. So be sure to get involved, take advantage of all these resources that are available to you. Of course, you're here because you love community calls, right? So do we. We got plenty for you. So we've got the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Only call. That is available on Tuesdays. Now, that is on a summer break until the 22nd of August. So we are just a couple of weeks or a few weeks away from that coming back. And we're going to play a little M&M for that, right? Guess who's back? Yes, it's back. Anyway, so we also have the Power Platform Community Call, which is monthly. We've got our Office add-ins. And then, of course, the sibling bi-weekly calls, M365 and Power Platform Community Call, which you are on right now, and Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, which is the sibling call, all of them on Thursdays. You can get access to all of these calls at aka.ms/community/calls. Be sure to add those ICS to your calendar so you can be alerted for when all these calls are taking place. Now you may think, how do I get on one of these calls? I absolutely would love to present on one of these calls. Well, we want you to present, and we've made it easy. All you got to do is fill out a little request form, ak.ms/community/request/demo, and let us know what you want to talk about. Now, you can absolutely cover a tip, a trick, a feature that you appreciate, a solution, a technical pattern. Don't overwhelm yourself or overcomplicate thinking that it has to be some flux capacitor that you show off. Not at all. We want you to share your passion with the community. And if you've never presented and you need a buddy, we got your back. Just let us know that you'd like to co-present with some MVP or a member of the team, and we'll hook you up and you will present together, and it'll be fantastic. Now, as mentioned, that M365 Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Only call is on break until the 22nd of August. So be sure that you get that on your calendar and join then. But the Thursday calls are not on break. So obviously, because we're here right now, right? So be sure to always join those Thursday calls. Now, you may be seeing a whole bunch of stuff in this call that you're like, I want to be part of that. I want to contribute to part of that. We got your back. The Sharing is Caring initiative is a program that's been created to provide you hands-on guidance. Now, this is guidance that provides safe space opportunities for you to ask any and all questions. That means we're going to join live Teams calls, show you how to accomplish things like performing your first pull request or better understanding those weird words in GitHub like fork, blame, and raw. What do those all mean? We'll explain it to you in a live session together so that you can leave feeling confident and ready to make your first contribution or additional contribution to the community. We have the Power Platform Samples Contributor, which is valuable for GitHub overall, and you can join, and we already have that scheduled for August. So go sign up, ak.ms/sharingiscaring. And it's badge time because everybody loves badges. This is our community recognition program. This is powered by Credly, showcasing your contributions. We're working on new hackathon themes for the year. Of course, we're going to be coming back with Hacktoberfest soon, and of course, our season of Getting and other fun thematic programs that we're starting up. So if you need to get registered, it is absolutely free, ak.ms/community/recognition. We do need you to opt in with your GitHub account so that we can track the work you're doing and recognize you with these formal and official badges. And we've got new ones coming up soon that we've been working on. We're excited, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's move into some project-specific updates. So we're going to start out, Bert's on vacation, and Vess is going to step in on .NET libraries.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. So quick recap, .NET libraries, PnP framework is the classic, including, for example, provisioning engines and all of that being widely used throughout the world. Latest version is 1.13, coming out within a month ago or so. And the PnP Core SDK is the wrapper for CSON Graph, REST APIs, and all of that. And behind the scenes, as Graph API evolves, we more and more start using the Microsoft Graph without you being forced to rebuild any of your code. And that's kind of the trick here, while we're building this experience. Now, we had 181,000 tenants using these components in July 2023, which is mind-boggling. Please do contribute and give us feedback of what is needed. We want to know what's missing so we can address those gaps. But then let's jump on the PnP PowerShell with Gautam.
Thanks, Vesa. PnP PowerShell is the PowerShell side of the things, which surfaces all of the changes which are there in PnP framework and PnP Core SDK as well as we also add quite a few commandlets ourselves as to interact with various Microsoft 365 endpoints. So what is the latest in the current nightly builds? 2.2.0 is the latest one which is out. You should use that. In the latest nightly builds, we fixed a major issue related to assembly conflicts. So what used to happen is lots of developers or IT admins used to use Azure PowerShell or Microsoft Graph PowerShell or some other third-party PowerShell modules. And when they used to run that in combination with PnP PowerShell, it used to run into quite a lot of assembly conflicts. So we managed to fix that issue. Also, we have added a new support for custom Azure AD and Microsoft Graph endpoints for PnP for connecting to various things. So turns out that there are certain customers who use custom Azure AD and Microsoft Graph endpoints. So they requested support for that, and we did that. Besides that, quite a few commandlets got quite a new amount of fixes. So do check them out, and we'd absolutely love to hear from you. So do reach out to us on the discussion forums, or if you have an issue, just reach out to us on GitHub. Thanks. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, Gautam. Let's move into Yo Teams with Rick.
Hey. I hope everyone's good. Yeah, we're still also in a little bit of a vacation mode. That's why I'm also covering for Stefan, because he's on vacation right now. We added support for the manifest 1.14, 1.15, but we're also working on 1.16 because that also came out. We also are looking always for people to help us contribute. So if you would like to help out to extend your teams, and you're always welcome to help. We can help to get you started. What's next? Yeah, we fixed some bugs. There's always some bugs. We were still working on the docs, of course. And I think Stefan's still working on the Visual Studio Code extension for your teams. I think he was stuck on something, but I'm not sure anymore. So yeah, it's not that simple, creating a Visual Studio Code extension. And of course, yeah, the downloads went a little bit down because of the summertime. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, Rick. Let's move on to Teams Toolkit with John Miller.
Thanks, David. So not too many new updates this week, but just in case you're new, Teams Toolkit are Microsoft's open source tools for building Teams apps. And just some highlights from what's the most recent stuff. We have the pre-release available in the VS Code extension that has a couple new things for SPFX projects, a new template for link unfurling to help you get started quickly with that, and some other quality of life stuff on our SDK. And then we're also full steam ahead on the Teams Toolkit for VS. So you can check that out now in the 17.7 previews. The release for that is planned for next week as part of 17.7. So look for that if you're a .NET developer, and happy to get feedback on that as well. What's under construction for us and what's next? Copilot extensibility is what we're working on. And also we have some other plans for some new templates to help you get started with Teams AI SDK and build bots if you want to do conversational stuff like that. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, happy to chat more about that one-on-one. So you can use the link TTK chat. If that link doesn't work, which some people tell me it doesn't, just ping me in Teams or whatever, and happy to set it up with you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. All right, let's move over to MGT, our Microsoft Graph Toolkit with Sebastian.
Awesome. well, there's an error there. I forgot to put 310 and not 301. So we just shipped our first minor version of the version 3, where we're adding some capabilities to MGT file list, our MGT agenda, and our MGT person. We also moved a lot of our samples from our main repo, where the code of MGT actually lives, to the MGT sample. So you can get an overview of all the ways that you can use MGT in your app. So now we're splitting them into 2 different sections, one for complete apps or kind of simple solutions, and specific HTML templates if you want to do it in a very specific way. So we have done that. So you can go aka.ms/mgt/samples. And we also published our public roadmap directly on GitHub. So you're going to have access to our project, where we have a roadmap view where you can see the big blocks that we're working on right now. We're very transparent. You're going to see stuff in there that are actually quite cool. So you can go there, aka.ms/mgt/roadmap. What's next? Well, always install our next packages. If you want to see what's next in your apps, just install our next packages, and we need your help. Come raise issues, come fix bugs, come suggest features to our repo, aka.ms/mgt. Back to you, David.
All right, very cool stuff. Thank you, Seb. Let's move over to Joss with Independent Publisher Connectors.
Hello, everybody. As always, the world of connectors is growing. We are now over 1,100 total connectors, with that being almost 300 in just the independent publisher category. As are many teams, we are definitely working on our Power Platform connector extensibility into various co-pilots. So look forward to some of those updates as we creep towards Power Platform Conference. Speaking of which, you might also find a session in there about connectors. So if any of you guys will be in Vegas, please come find me. If you guys are looking for even more connector content, please join our Power Platform Connectors Labs specific calls. This takes place the second Wednesday of every month. So the upcoming Wednesday, the link for that will be in the chat. And next week, we'll be featuring a session on getting started with Dataverse and learning more about the premium connector capabilities. Looking forward to seeing you all.
Thank you, Jocelyn. All right, how about some script samples with Paul Bullock?
Hey everybody, so Script Samples is a place where you can share your PowerShell scripts with the community. And we've just crossed 200 scenarios. So that's different types of activities you would perform against the M365 service using one or more tools. So for example, PMP PowerShell, CLI for 365, SPM Management Shell, all those combinations within each of those scenarios, which is super, super cool. We've got some additional samples that have been kindly contributed. So we've got one with two with PMP PowerShell. We've got add dummy folders and files to SharePoint library using batch by Reshmi Aklu. We've got bulk delete recycle items again in a batch form as well by Ilaf Bamir. And we've got a new sample for CLI for M365, which is uploading that's SPFX solution to the app catalog and also generating that Azure AD app certificate as well by Velaras Nabutos, which is super, super cool. Again, you can, if you're looking to contribute, you can actually build the sample quickly by running that PowerShell script that I wrote to structure it all out. You just need to fill in the blanks. But if you get any difficulties with contributing or you want to know how things work, then by all means, reach out to me. I'll be super happy to help you. And also there's a badge for your efforts as well. So thank you very much for those. There's 3 levels now, so be sure to opt in and you'll get a badge for your contributions. Again, thank you very much for your contributions, and you're awesome. Back to you, David.
All right, thank you, Paul. Very easy way to get involved with this one, everybody. So definitely reach out to touch base with Paul if you have any questions. All right, how about some team samples with Bob German?
Hey, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yep.
So so we have a cool new sample this week from Marcel Palvas. I hope I didn't say your name mispronounce it too badly. Anyway, quizzes can actually be fun if you get to choose the topic, and that's exactly what you get to do with this new quiz bot that Marcel has kindly contributed to the community. You pick the topic, OpenAI generates the quiz and delivers the quiz to you. This is written in C# with Visual Studio 2022, and the URL is on the screen. Now, what's cool about this is also it's one of the many samples from the Teams Global Hack. If you go to the URL at the bottom of the screen, aka.ms/m365/samples, you can browse through all the samples and search them. It turns out there's now a new product, and I put that in air quotes, listed called Teams Global Hack. So if you want to see Marcel's and the other great samples that came out of the Teams Global Hack, please go and check that out. And thanks again, and back to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. And by the way, everybody, there'll be a quiz at the end of this call.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Let's get to Power Platform samples with April Dunham.
Whoa, there we go. My audio went out. Okay. So we don't have any new samples this week for Power Platform. However, there's always an opportunity to contribute your samples to the repo. You can have your Power App samples. We have Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents, all the powers inside the Power Platform samples repo. So definitely encourage you to submit your samples to that and to check it out if you haven't already to see what samples we already have there. But that's not our only Power Platform related opportunity to contribute and to get some awesome information from the community, and that's our Power Platform prompts repo is one of the newest repos that we have. So this is for helping you use the co-pilots and all the AI features inside of the Power Platform. We recently just added some more Power Automate co-pilot samples. So these are prompts that you can take and put into the co-pilots and the AI builder, OpenAI services and all of that to start using the solutions and get some ideas with how you can use it and how to write a good prompt. So if you have been using some of these co-pilots and you have your favorite prompt and you want to share that with the community, go to aka.ms/Power Platform prompts, and you can share that and, of course, get some badges. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, April. A great opportunity to power up. All right. Let's move to everybody's favorite time. Picture time. Get those cameras on so that we can see your fantastic faces. I see the Together Mode bot has entered the chat, and Vesa has taken over, so we are good to go.
Here we go. It's not too pixelated even. Let's wait a few more seconds. We have 50 seats in a room, 50 seats in a room. We still have 20 seats roughly left. Let's wait. I'm not recording it. Wait. Oh, we can always wait. That's fair. But let's wait for a while until we get 50 or close 50 people. Exactly. Thank you, Asher, on the great picture in the navigate on the chat. I will put the recording on. We are hitting the limit pretty soon. 3, 2, 1, and let's do some hand waving. Thank you for joining, everybody. Great to have you on a call. Awesome to see this many people in a call, even though it's still early summertime in the Northern Hemisphere. Excellent. Brilliant picture. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. And that was a good one, drinking beer or milk during the GIF animation. We got that one as well.
Depends on the time of day, I guess, right? All right.
That's true.
Let's move into our fantastic presenters for today. So Azim is going to kick us off for Power Apps for Change Management. Feel free to take it on over.
Thank you, David. I'm just going to share my screen now. Hopefully it all works without any hitches. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Got it. Looks great.
Perfect. Thank you, David, and thank you, Microsoft, for allowing me to present today. So I'd like to start with a question. SOP or SOPs. How many of you have heard of SOPs? Bring in some reactions on the chat, or standard operating procedures. The reason I'm covering SOPs is because today I'm going to talk about SOPs and how I kind of used SOPs and Power Platform to productize my solution. So as we all know, SOPs or standard operating procedures, we use them in our day-to-day tasks. It's a standardized way that we do things. Like, for example, if you're doing a marketing campaign, you don't just start sending out emails, right? You have a process that you go through to be able to gather the emails, create the emails, put a list together, and then send it out. So thank you very much for that, for the reactions. My name is Azim Zicar. I'm a Power Platform Adoption Specialist, and I focus on helping customers with getting the most business value out of implementing Power Platform. So I have SOPs, and for the last couple of years, I've been using different processes when I'm moving from client to client to try and get them up to speed with the Power Platform. So with that, I had some limitations, and today I'm going to share a story about what those limitations were and how I addressed them and why, and some kind of tips and lessons learned I'd like to share with you, and hopefully you can take benefit from that story. So the first limitation was something that I found doing every time I changed clients was doing the same task over and over again and not really having any benefit from doing so. So if you think about the things that you do every day, whether it be at work or in your daily lives, is there one task that you keep doing but you won't get better at it? You don't need to get better at it. It's just something simple. Like for me, it was telling my customers about what Power Platform is and what it does. I mean, that information was pretty standard every time, and I found myself, having to repeat that, and I call that unhealthy repetition. So if you think about your tasks that you do at work, is there something like that where you are repeating but you're not iterating? Because that's ideally what you should do. Focus on those tasks that you can iterate and improve every time you do it. So essentially, that was the solution to that problem, right? And that was one thing that I wanted to accomplish with the Power Platform and my SOPs. And then there was the visuals. So every time I'm with the customer, obviously we have a project plan, we have the Microsoft maturity model to kind of see where we are in the journey, where do we want to be. But it's not enough or good enough to have visuals. You need to also have, easy to digest visuals. Sorry for the graphics there. It's a bit too graphic. I I hope it's not too graphic. But yeah, I mean, again, with the SOPs that I had the way of kind of doing the project management side and showcasing where we're at, but it wasn't as easy to communicate across the stakeholders. So I needed to address that. So lastly, there's a limitation that we all have, which is that there is only a limited number of hours in a day. So you can only help so many people, right? So think about this. You might know something in your current place of work, and that information is only with you. So only when you're there that you can provide this to your colleagues, for example. Now, if you were to productize that information, right? If you were to put that information in a digital solution, now you can distribute it in a much easier way, and you don't need to be there to give value to your colleagues, your company. And that was a kind of the last kind of problem that I had, and the way to resolve it was through productization. Now, obviously, in hindsight, I'm talking about these things, but it didn't just come to my head, just how I've just explained it to you. I had an epiphany, a moment that I realized, I'm telling customers to use Power Platform, right? And I'm not using it for myself. And a lot of IT companies, we can be guilty of that, right? We tell our customers to use technology, and we don't use that same technology to bring benefit to what we do. So perhaps if you were to think about those limitations and think about the work that you do, maybe you have an epiphany moment right now. Well, if you do share it with us, that'd be good to hear. It'd be good to know. But yeah, I mean, that's what happened. I had an epiphany. I was about to go to bed, actually. And then the idea came to my head. And, I can use Power Platform to put my SOPs into Power App and then use Power BI to showcase, the progress of what we're doing, etc. And yeah, I just had to get started, right? So one thing led to another, and essentially that's kind of the outcome, the end result of it all. I created a Power Platform solution that I could now share with my clients and kind of have that information, my SOPs, into a digital product that would now benefit more people than just myself. And also with the Power BI dashboard, as you can see, there it's a lot easier to now have conversations and communicate the status of the project. And the reason I wanted to do it in a Power App is because I had a vision as to how I want my product to look and feel, and with Power Apps that allowed me to be able to do that. So similarly, think about your solution. Like for what I did, it's something that I'm selling out to external customers, but you might have internal clients. For example, if there is something that you do in your department that is replicated across other departments, could you create a Power Platform solution that uses all of these technologies and then package it up and so that it can be shared across the departments? As something that you could do yourself as well. So what was the key lessons of doing all of this? So the first main lesson was that there are challenges way beyond development, and I think some of this stuff can be obvious. For example, if you are looking to build a solution, it's not just about the technical side of it. I mean, Power Platform has made it much easier to not worry about the technology now. But yes, we need to look beyond technology. For me, in my case, I needed to think about how to do the marketing side of things, branding, etc. For you, it might be, how do you convince your colleagues to use this technology? Because change management is also something that you need to think about. So that's a key lesson. If you just had that epiphany and you're thinking about creating a solution, start also thinking about how you're going to get people to use that. And if you go about and you do that and it comes out as you envisioned it, you will feel empowered. And I know now why they call it the Power Platform, right? Because I did feel very empowered that I was able to have just a moment, an epiphany, and turn that into reality. And not just that, it helped me do my work better. So instead of taking 1 year to help my clients, now I can take 4 to 6 months. So think about that for yourself. If you are doing some work right now and you feel like you're spending a lot of time doing that same thing over and over, could you turn that into a solution, help yourself and others at the same time? You will feel empowered. You'll want to do more of it, and only good things can come from that. So if you decide to go ahead and do something like this, there are tips that I like to give you. First tip is, use the whole of the Power Platform. It's not just Power Apps. We have a lot more than Power Apps. There is, although Power Apps is the most popular, but we got to think beyond just one element. If you put everything together, then you can kind of build much more complete solutions and much more future-proof. I think with as having Copilot now, things are just a lot easier, because a lot of the reasons why we don't use other areas, like for example, I've been using Power Pages now, but with Copilot, because I don't have the knowledge, but with Copilot, it's easy for me. So don't be afraid. And that's the next thing. There is a learning curve involved, and you shouldn't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. And Copilot is a game changer, man. And I think with that, the learning curve is a lot easier. So not only just the technical skills, there is going to be a lot of things, like I said, change management before. You've got to be able to think about it beyond the technical solution. And that's it for my brief kind of presentation. Hopefully you've got some value from this. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you. LinkedIn is the best place to get to me.
Awesome, Azim. Thank you. Excellent landscape awareness perspective discussion there for those on the call. So really appreciate it. And those who want to talk more, we'll have those community call conversations coming up here after the call available to you. So in the interest of time, we'll move on to Ejaz on Bookmark Bot from Microsoft Teams. If you want to take on over the screen share.
Yeah, I'll do that. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen, guys?
It is loaded now. Yep.
Right. Okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Ejaz Hussain. I am a developer architect, work for a company called Content+Cloud. I'm based in UK, London specific. So you can get in touch on LinkedIn or Twitter. Here's my handles. So what we're talking about today is a Bookmark bot, Microsoft Teams app, and I created using Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code 5.0. So what is the Bookmark bot? So, so most of the time, as a developer architect, always come from, always a need to kind of come across really, really nice articles, and I want to save it. So I thought it would be kind of a good use case where I'm in the Microsoft Teams, or the same thing could be implemented in as the SPFX web pod and be available in Office as well as in Teams as well as in SharePoint, or wherever you spend most of the time. Basically, you want to save that bookmark and go back and read it, and that was the whole kind of a driver or idea behind this as well, as to creating as some sort of as a simple concept. So what I did is basically I created a Teams bot using the Teams Toolkit, Visual Studio Code 5.0. So the bot basically helps you to add a new bookmark to the SharePoint list. So as a proof of concept, I'm using SharePoint list. So this could be any backend, Azure storage, table. So it could be anything, or even the databases. So I'm using Microsoft Graph API to write to the SharePoint list, just to keep the process simple at this point, and also the sample also implement the single sign-on as well. Now, how it works? So basically, you go and access the app in the Teams app client. Then go and you typed in, or either select from the suggestion bookmark command. So once you hit the enter, then it will give you an adaptive card to fill in the bookmark form. And then once you fill in the bookmark form, hit submit or save, it will save the data back into the SharePoint list, and give you the link. Here's the newly created bookmark. So if we go and I'll show you the demo. So if I go here and here say bookmark, so let me go and trigger. So I give you like a little adaptive card form, so you can just fill in some sort of URL. So this could be like, this is just example. So get an idea. Basically, you can add so much data into. You can add some categories, or some more tags, some more information into it. So you can build some more complex form. So when you fill in your data, you hit submit. So I'm submitting to my app. So it's not processing. So as soon as it got submitted, so I have now the item has been created, and I can go and click on the view. It takes me to the SharePoint list where this is being saved. Now it basically take that adaptive card, and it's been replaced with the adaptive card, which has been the final one, has been success. So I'm replacing with another adaptive card after my success response. So that's what it's doing as in terms of the saving back into the SharePoint list. So if you notice that as soon as because I am running F5 in debug mode, so it did not ask me for any login or any prompt. So basically, once you logged in once, and then because using single sign-on, so it won't ask you again. That's why it's implemented here. So if you hit the bookmark, and if you are not logged in, if you log in first time, it will give you a sign-in card as well. And that's all handled, implemented Teams Toolkit behind the scenes. So I'm not writing any extra code, which I used to write before using the Teams Toolkit Visual Studio. So that's really, really cool. So now, so after the demo, so we'll just go back again, and then we see how do we get to this point. Like first, we need to create the command bot project. We use Visual Studio Code 5.0, or we go 5.1 as well. I think it's the same process, might be some changes, but I've used 5.0. Configure provision action. So provision action where you need your AD apps for your Microsoft Graph authentication, your AD app for your bot. If there's any other resource you wanted to provision, that's where basically you configure your provision action app. It's really, really cool things now in Visual Studio Code. You can do that. You can use your existing resources. You can use or you can create a new one as well. You add single sign-in code in there. And once you're done, then you make sure you create your bookmark list behind the scene. And then once you all put together, basically your bot is ready to go. So we can quickly go back to the code. How do we do that? So I'm gonna let me just go close to the right. So first of all, you simply create the project, and then once via the Teams Toolkit, if you go here, you just create a new app and bot. So create the bot project, and then it will ask you what kind of bot. I have simple chat command, or you can use the basic bot as well. So whichever works for you. And then after that, once it's done, the second thing is you go ahead and configure your provision action. So that is the for the dev, for the local development, you need to go to the teams app.local.yaml file, and this is all the magic is happening here. Which is these are changes came in as a part of the 5.0 Visual Studio Code. So you can create your team app, which is creating the Teams app. Then you can define here if you want to create a new AD app, which I'm using for that bot AD app. If you already have existing one, you just pass that ID in the environment variable. It will use the existing app bot. It won't just create the new one. If it's already registered, then if you want to create a, like for example, this way, I'm creating another AD app for my Microsoft Graph authentication. So you can basically go and provision, and what are the parameters you wanted to write into the environment after your AD app has been provisioned. So I'm saying, okay, please put these ones into my environment.local file, because I'm in the local environment. And then if there's any updates, you can do that, which basically if you make any changes, it's going to go and update the AD manifest file. And then at the end, once it's all provisioned, and you can basically go to the it's really cool documentation and see what are the actions are available. You pretty much can customize these based on your requirement, what you want in your app. And then at the end, these are the once I've all been done, I'm putting all this in my environment variables: bot ID, password for the bot ID and password, and then for the Microsoft Graph AD app credential as well. And additionally, because to keep the thing simple, I'm saving my site ID and the list ID into my local environment, so I can basically use your custom one as well. You don't have to kind of use. So these are all auto-generated, so you can use your custom one as well, where you wanted to use in your application. So this is where you define your customs attributes. So the people, then you can reuse in your application. Once it's all done, you need to go and your config file, it's internal, so you make sure is basically read all those environment variable, put into the config object. So then this will be globally object available. You can then use that in your application wherever you need the bot ID, password, or the client ID, client secret, site ID, etc. So next thing, initialization, to set up the SSO in your bot. So under the SSO config, under the initialize.ts, make sure you scope add your these user site.read.all. Now, bear in mind, when we did that, I think one thing is missed, which I want to show you, is the AD manifest file. So this is where you basically define your scope, whatever you need permission from the Microsoft Graph. So when this provisioning happen, it will automatically configure your AD app to have the required scope. So you don't have to do manually anything in your AD application. So now, so once we have everything is provision, I was in the initialization. So I'm saying these are my scope for your AD app. Then this is the I'm pointing to initial login. So you need these two for the authentication, for the SSO, which are in the public. Make sure auth start and auth ends are there. And once you have in place, you need to go to initial teams to make sure I have these in place as well. So that means so anything if there's any request comes in for your auth and auth start, you need to have this in place so you can know that and trigger this auth a single sign-on process from there. So once that's done, I'm gonna go back to my internal. Yeah, cool. So yeah, this is where all this configuration is. So once you've done this, that's all. And then this is SSO configuration, and this is where you define your commands. So what are the commands your bot handling. So that's comes hello world comes out of the box. But and if there's any other command like SSO command, for in my case, there's two commands. I have a profile and the bookmark port handler is SSO command. So you basically is defined under the SSO as the array. So if I go to my bookmark command, and what happened here when people type the bookmark, which is the trigger pattern here, you can define whatever the trigger pattern, and also you can define the same under your manifest as a suggestion, like so people can just simply click on the suggestion, or they can type this bookmark. So as soon as this happened, because this is extended with the team fx bot SSO command handler, as soon as it's basically handling everything behind the scene in terms of the, if user needs to log in and authorize, provide the consent, the initial consent. So is everything happening behind the scene. If user click on the bookmark and if they're not logged in, they will be presented with a consent box, or login, click like a adaptive card for the login. And once they're done, and the next time they won't see that login adaptive card, then simply it will spit it out the SSO token. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the SSO token, I'm initializing my graph service. That simple graph service, nothing fancy in there, is basically creating Microsoft Graph client credential based on the scope which I needed. That's all it is doing when we hit and is presenting you the form. This is the please submit your bookmark form, which is the the card, which is the adaptive card which you've seen before. Now, so what happened when people submit? So we have another action, card action, submit, so that you can basically put your action in a separate folder and separate class. That's really cool. So, we don't have to do everything in the same file. So you can basically trigger the verb as a submit. And this, what happened is as soon as you hit submit in your form, your control comes here. Here, this is, you get the extract the data from whatever the user has submitted. And then what I'm doing is taking that data and then creating a list item. And once the list item has been created, I've got the ID of the list item and is the display item of the URL, and I'm displaying this to the user. So that's what's happening, and then they go. So that's the code how it's been working in place. So that's all from me, guys. If you have any question, please shout.
Very cool, Ejaz. Really, really great in-depth discussion and or demo, excuse me, there for us all. So really appreciate you showing that. All right. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, everybody, let's saddle up because Chris is going to trot out with another list formatting tips and trick demo. Can I get enough horse illustrations in there? Chris.
I think you're going to need a few more.
I got them. I'm ready.
All right. Well, keep doing them until I get this share button to work. All right.
All right. Well,
that is
your
not
horses,
a horse.
Everybody. Let's see. He's in the stable. He's headed out.
All right. Can we see the old screen here?
It is trying to load, but not yet. I'm not seeing it yet, at least. It's like, oh, there we go. There we go. What's up?
There we go. I'm Chris. All right. Let's talk about things. All right. So we're going to head over to our Warrior Horses site. And the Warrior Horses, that they've been working on a lot of interesting things lately, and they want to start a whole new team site, so they can spin up a quick team site and get some things going on it. So we're just going to create a new team site here. Doop-a-doop-a-doo, team site right there. And we're going to just call this, surveys and stuff. That sounds great. Surveys and stuff. What a beautiful name. We're going to create that. That's going to go ahead and create our Office 365 group. We're not going to add anybody to it just yet. We're just going to finish here to get our new site. And we're going to let that bring it in here, and it's going to prompt us for some site templates and all sorts of stuff. And we'll probably pick one just to make it look a little prettier than that. So we'll let it finish up here. We're going to hit Browse Templates. Of course, we can always have our own templates. So if you've done some of that, you got some from your organization over here. You've got like a special template. But for this case, we'll just do the onboarding team. That sounds really great. The idea here is, these templates give you all sorts of fun things like some lists, starter lists, sometimes formats or web parts already configured. It can be a great way to do it. And again, if you want to get your own, that is an awesome way to help people set up their sites really quickly and get a few assets they need right off the bat. All right, so here we go. Now we've got ourselves a lovely site. Now I've gone ahead and created a couple of lists on some other sites, which I'm just going to copy onto here so we can take a look at them, and then we'll jump into what the formats are actually doing. So let's go ahead and create a list, and we're going to say a list from an existing list. There we go. That way I can pick one that I've already created. And I happen to create that on the old, what was it called? Poll test, as you do. So we're going to create a poll list. Poll sounds great. We'll just create that and let that go here. And we'll take a look at what's in here, and we'll create a test entry, and then we'll add our other list. So by default, we've got a configuration view. We're going to switch over to our standard view. So you can see our poll, right? So all we're trying to do is just ask some people some basic questions, right? This is a configurable poll is the idea. So let's add one here. So you can see we just have this idea of a title. So we'll call this our weekly poll. That sounds exciting, right? And our question is what? Oh, sorry, I've got my Alexa alerts going off here. All right, so what is a best way for murder? And that sounds great. All right, so option one would be, grenades. Option two, we'll just call that, I don't know, tanks. That sounds great. That's good enough for now. The idea is we just wanted to create one here so we can have an entry, and then we can have this idea of this configuration view, right? So this is only ever going to have one item in it, all right? So as a result, we've removed the new button up here. This is where we want to provide a kind of on-the-rails editing experience for the end user, right? So you can try and create a Power App form, or you can work with that list form. But you may want to consider actually using view formatting to create a very, like I said, on-the-rails editing experience. So right here, we've got this idea of I can add an option, right? So I didn't like grenades and tanks. I want to add one here. I can just edit it. We'll call it elephants. That's great. All right, so we can save that. This idea, we can move things around. All right, we can move them up and down. We can remove options we don't want. And we can also pick our colors here. So we've got a color picker. All right, so we want to use this beautiful red here, or maybe over here in their grenades. We want to use, one of our theme colors still. We'll use this darker blue. And then we'll just grab one more just for fun. We'll do a lovely yellow for the elephants. Okay, but the idea here is I can create, again, this editing experience. They can edit everything right here. It's more of a what you see is what you get, right? It's not that form. I can show only the options when they make sense, right? So if we don't want elephants anymore, we just remove it, and so on. We'll come back and take a look at how we did some of that. But for now, let's add a whole other list, because having just a poll doesn't do a whole lot for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new list here, again, from an existing list off my other site. Now, all of this is a sample, so all the formats and lists and everything are available to you on our sample site. I'll show the link to that in the end. Let's grab the poll responses here, and because it's going to add that silly space for me, I'm going to go ahead and create so my URL isn't messed up here, and then I'll add that space back in right here. So we'll just add a space back in. We got to love that. Oh, bonk. There we go. There we go. We got our lovely poll responses, and by default we're on the My Response view, but let's just go to the All Items view. And this was pretty straightforward as well. At least it feels that way. So this is going to say response from Chris Kent, or let's call this the unconfigured. That's just our unconfigured item. We're not going to put a user. We'll put a poll here, and this will make sense in a moment. They just here, if we save that, now we have this idea of a view that is put on here, and this view has it's my response, so it could show either where the user is yourself or it's empty. Right now, we don't have anything for ourselves. So what we're doing is we're automatically showing a message here about the poll not being configured. That'll look a little better if we add that to a page. So let's do that. So let's come over here to our page here. We'll edit this page right there. And let's, well, the first thing we do is, who's this lady? We don't need this lady. That's not a horse. All right, so this is not important to the demo, but it makes me feel better. All right, so we're just going to grab, oh, I could have just changed that image, couldn't I? But that's all right. We'll just do an image here. We're going to upload one from our machine. We'll hope that we're in a good folder here. All right, we're in a good folder. All right, we'll do the scary horse poll. And we'll give that just a moment here. Perfect. I'm going to add that image. Much better. Now we're looking like a horse site here. But maybe say up here in this section, maybe want to edit this section. I'm going to just remove the section background because that does not play well with the list web parts. Then I'm going to add a list. And the list, I'm going to add my poll responses. This is where I get that my response. I'm going to take away the command bar and the see all button. I'm just going to change this to poll. There we go. And now if I apply that, the idea here is, I haven't gotten an entry yet, so now I just see this poll is not yet configured. But let's go over here and configure that. Oh, not that guy. Let's click on the, let's republish this so we can play with that a little bit. Yes, I'm ready. Do it. Perfect. All right. So let's go back to our poll responses. Let's open that in a new tab so we can refresh this one. And let's create an entry for myself. And then I'll show you how we're going to do that automatically for everybody else. All right, so let's go over here and let's create our initial one here. And in this case, we're going to say responses from Chris Kent. There we go, and that's me. Woo! There we go. And we'll pick our poll again. It's always going to be the same one for our case here. But now that I have a response, all right, there's not actually anything responding, but if we go back here and refresh this page, there we go, we should see that we no longer have our message up here about it not being configured. Now we actually have a way to fill this out, right? What is the best way for murdering? Well, that's definitely elephants, right? So we pick elephants, that goes and updates our response, right? And it's recorded that we're elephants. And if we go and change that later, we could have new polls, and this will automatically update with that, and we'll be given a chance to respond again. So pretty exciting. And then we'll take a look at one more factor here, and that is the idea of how we're doing this with the formats, right? And why we're doing this, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's take a look at that configuration one first. I just want to point out a few things. Again, it'll be easier if you go through the format yourself, as it is kind of big. Let's make this a little bigger, shall we? Well, I'm not sure why I decided dark mode all of a sudden, but that's exciting. All right, there we go. So a couple of things I just wanted to point out in this format is that we are doing a lot of inline editing, right? So that's this idea of when you click on this, right? SharePoint just takes care of it for me. I can, what's the best way for murdering? And I can add a G if I decide that's the better way to say that. All right, let's press enter. And that's done pretty easy. All we really need to do is we're going to say down here, like on our question right here, we just say inline edit field, and we specify that field, and it's automatic for us. It just understands that when you hover over that element and you click on it, go ahead and provide the standard editing interface. So that's awesome. But we're also doing some pretty fancy stuff here where we're moving options around and so on. Now, we're not actually reordering these. We're actually resaving these values in option 1, option 2, option 3, underlying things there. And the way we're doing that is if we scroll way down here, we start to see some of these fun things. So this is our color picker. Let's take a look at the color picker. Actually, I'm going to skip the color picker because I want to show you the other thing, and then we'll come back to our color picker. Where is my... Oh, yeah, all right, here we go. But the idea, is someone talking? Nope. Just having fun there. Okay, but you can see right here, we start to do set value. And the nice thing about set value is we can specify multiple columns at once to update, right? So we can also do pretty fancy logic here. We could just specify a column if we want to do that, or a value like this, or a full-on expression, which allows us to really, again, provide a very on the Rails experience for the end user. We know when we can delete. We know we can move things up and down, and when we want to add options, right? So if we actually delete elephants, for instance, we get this add an option, right? And we can add that right back in. We'll say ferrets. Perfect. Okay, so that's part of that. Now let's take a look at that color picker we glossed over briefly. So that's this guy right here. And the thing to note with this is I've not created an element for each one of these. It would take forever, and this format would be, I don't know, 3,000 lines long. We don't want to do that. So instead, what I've done is a trick here we've seen before. I've created just one element per color, and I've split them across a for each. So I'm saying for each, split it with each one of these colors that I want to do. And then with those, I can just use this color iterator as a magic value, where I can actually use those in my set values, so set the color to that color iterator and so on as they pick them. And I can also tell when they've picked them. So check that out. But that's a great way to add some nice functionality, again, kind of that on the Rails, exactly what you want. All right, let's move on and look at a couple other things here. So let's head over to our poll responses list and take a look at that format. A couple things we want to point out here on this one is, again, this view is filtered using that special me command, if you haven't seen that before. When you filter your view, you could say where a person field equals me in this little square brackets, and it's going to automatically be dynamic, which is cool. All right, but if we format that current view, one of the things we want to note is, again, we're hiding that new button up here, but then we get down here, we're using what's called the row index. So the row index is the order in which your rows were drawn or rendered to the screen. And they're always going to start at 0. And so one of the things we're doing here is we're saying anything over the first one, just don't show it, right? So if you get more than one result here, we're just actually hiding the element, right? So it's actually returning 2 elements here because we always have that empty unconfigured. And what we're doing is if you're the first element, right here in the unconfigured, right? So we've got this here where we're going to show it, and we say our row index. I don't even remember where it is. The idea here is if the row index is 0 on this one, we're going to show it, and if it's not, then we're going to hide it. And that again allows us to have that idea of providing a default item when the item we're looking for, when we're looking for a specific item, doesn't come up, which is pretty cool, pretty exciting. The other thing we're doing is behind the scenes is we want a calculated column, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But the idea is sometimes you want a calculated column that isn't actually a calculated column or isn't even possible in the normal way of doing a calculated column. And we'll take a look at what that looks like here. So when I vote on this, if I vote for grenades, for instance, and then we take a look at those all items, we can see right here, we have this custom field. And the reason we're doing this is normally you cannot take these projected fields or additional fields from a lookup and use those in calculated columns. But because we're doing the set value, we can build our own calculated columns this way. And by doing this, I can actually then group on that field and then break it apart. We don't have any entries here with that match our current piece here, but this creates a, let's edit the current view to make sure we've got the iteration set correctly. And you can see that exciting results view. Let's go down here, make sure we got the user column, and we want to say that the iteration is greater than or equal to 0. And if you read through the README on that part a little makes sense here, but the idea is my results. So I have one vote for grenade, right? I'm grouping that. And the idea is this is a progress bar that will grow as we get more responses. And we're doing that by separating that, I'm putting in quotes, calculated column out, but do some string manipulation on here. We could have multiple results, and we can easily see this and again, place this on a page as well, which creates an entire poll application. And we're all good to go. The only other piece that's missing is it would be nice that if someone got added to a team, they automatically got one of those entries. And so we're going to do exactly that. And so what we're going to do is here, we're just going to go to Power Automate, and we're just going to try and describe this. So when a horse is added or removed from an Office 365 group, look up the user's profile and then create a list item in SharePoint. Let's see if it understands them horse references here. How smart is it? Say, it's smart enough to understand we mean horse, we mean a user. So here we go. And we just hit next. And what it's going to do is it's automatically suggesting this flow for us. And then we're going to go ahead and pick our group. So what do we call that group? We called that surveys and stuff. And then our site is, of course, surveys and stuff. And then our list is our poll responses list right there. And when we hit create flow, we're going to let the AI do some magic for us and put it in this very pretty looking interface here. All right, so now we can see that our group is configured, right, to pull in from surveys and stuff. It's going to go ahead and get that user profile for us using the user ID it retrieved, from the member that was added. And then we're going to go and create this item. And the only thing we need to do is make sure we specify our title and our user and our poll. All right, so we hit those. And so we're going to say our title is responses from, and then we'll just say the display name, and then our user claims. We're just going to do our custom value here. And we're going to put in the UPN, right? The user principal name. And then our poll ID is always weekly poll. And that's it. And when we save that, in the interest of time, I'm not going to test it, but I promise it does work. And the idea is it'll automatically create that entry. So when someone gets added to the team, if they go there immediately, they'll see our, wait for a minute while we configure your poll. And then, within a few minutes, they will have that entry and they can go ahead and start filling out the poll. And so it's all automated and it's a nice little application. And quickly, let's ramp it up so David can do his final slides here. A couple things here is the wow. So when you're editing things, there's 2 different options. So inline edit fields, super easy. It's just going to be, SharePoint's going to do the magic for you. If you really want some power, the set value is going to let you set 1 or more values and you can use those expressions. Oh yeah. And then finally, I didn't show you, but in there I actually create a little reset button. So this is a tip I use a lot when I'm testing, especially a lot of things that require unique use cases. I just create a little extra button that I hide in my format that just set the input or set the value on a bunch of different columns, so I get the exact input I want. So that's a great way to kind of debug things. And then there's the rest of things covered. Last thing to say is that sample is available. It is live as of about 10 minutes ago. The team poll sample and review samples if you want to check out all those formats. And that's all I got. Woo!
Awesome, Chris. Everybody is neighing in excitement for this. Oh, sorry. I don't need to keep going at that, I guess, right? Very, very good. Thank you. All right. Well, let's wrap this call up. That's right. Let's wrap this call up. Thank you, Azim, Ejaz, and Chris for your fantastic demos and presentation today. Surely everybody in the call wants to chat with you more about it. So remember, we've got our community call conversations. This allows you to continue the conversation. Just go to these. Thank you, Essa. We're trotting over to the Power User site to talk with our community presenters today. So this is an opportunity to ask questions. It is on the Power User site for Power Apps. It is free if you don't already have an account. Even if you set up an account, just say thank you. You did a great job. Really appreciate it. That is a way to engage. And I implore all of you to please go do that. Let them know they did a great job. Let them know, because it is a lot of hard work to put these together. So if you have questions, absolutely don't be afraid to let them know. We'll include these links in the chat right after the call. Now, we also have our official Discord server, so definitely get onto Discord with the cool kids if you haven't already. You can get there by going to aka.ms/community/Discord and join in there. We've got a bunch of channels available for you to chat on a variety of topics. So we look forward to seeing you there. And of course, we'd love some feedback. So please let us know what we're doing good, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see different things happening. This is a great way for us to show that show our management that you are enjoying these calls and they are a necessity to your improvement and use of the products and the technologies. So it's a great way for us to showcase the value that we bring to you in these calls. So we ask you to please go fill that out. Now, the recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel. You can access and subscribe today, aka.ms/community/videos. Please don't try to download them if you're not in Microsoft. It'll just end in sadness and tears. But if you go subscribe, you'll be alerted as soon as it's available. Now, you can also follow us on X. Yes, that X, which is the artist formerly known as Twitter, for updates at M365PNP, or see the updates directly on LinkedIn, aka.ms/community/LI. The next M365 and Power Platform bi-weekly call, 2 weeks from today, August 17th, same bad time, same bad channel, 7 a.m. And Viva Connection SharePoint Framework next week, August 10th, 7 a.m. as well. Access all of these at aka.ms/community/calls. Thank you, everyone, for being the best part of our community, and keep up the great work. We really appreciate all that you do. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, and week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.